The purpose of this video is to help you understand the instructions in your Circle Properties assignment for task number 3. Answers will not be provided. Instruction number 1 asks you to create a circle and draw 2 radii using the line segment tool. So we'll come up to the top. Here's the circle option. Click on that and pick circle with center and radius. Click in the center. We'll give it a radius of 5. Now in order to draw radius, we come to the line segment tool. So we'll have to click the drop down menu on the lines and pick the segment between 2 points. We know the radius goes from the center to the outside, and then we need another radius from the center to the outside. There we go. Instruction number 2 tells us to use the perpendicular line tool to draw a line that is perpendicular to one of the radius and goes through the point on the circumference where the radius meets. Okay, so that part sounds kind of confusing, but it's actually quite easy to do. We're using a new tool here that we haven't used yet, which is a perpendicular line. What we want to do is create a perpendicular line to this radius right here. So when we set it up, we'll end up with the line going across here. So first we click on the line we want it to be perpendicular to, and you'll see the lines there. And now we have to tell it where we want that line to end up. We actually want that line to be perpendicular at the point B. So now we'll just move it to the point B and click. So now we have a line that goes through point B and is perpendicular to the line segment AB. We want to do the exact same thing for the other radius. So we click on the radius here, AC, and we move this along till we get to point C, and we click. Now these lines are called tangent lines. The definition for a tangent is actually at the top of your assignment sheet, but I'm going to quickly explain it. A tangent line is simply a line that only touches the circle at one point, so here's point B, and that is perpendicular to the radius. So it's perpendicular to here. This line is a tangent because it is perpendicular to this radius and crosses and touches the circle at only one point, and that's point C. Instruction number 4 tells you to add a point where the tangents cross. So here's the tangent and here's a tangent, and they cross right here. So we're going to add a point right here. So we'll come up to the top menu. This is our point tool. So we click on it. Now as we move our cursor around the screen, we see different lines getting bold. That means that's a line that if I clicked right now, that's where that point would go. If I clicked here, it would be attached to the circle. If I click here, it will be attached to that radius. If I click here, it will be attached to that radius. It's very important that you make sure that the right piece is bolded, otherwise your point will attach to the wrong item. So right now if I click, it will be attached to this tangent. If I click here, it will be attached to this tangent. And when I move to the point where they intersect, you'll notice that both are joined, both are bolded, and that means it will attach to both points. So I can click here, and that point D is attached to both points. You'll notice this says point A. It actually labels it the next available letter. Okay, instruction number 5 asks us to draw a line segment from the center of the circle to where the tangents cross. So we'll come up to the line segment option. We'll click on the center of the circle, that's point A, and then we'll click on the point where the 2 tangents cross, and that was point D. Now step number 6 asks us to measure the angles G, H, I, and J, and those are labeled on your assignment sheet. Obviously they're not labeled here, but this will match up to G, I, J, and H. Very quickly I'll refresh on how to measure one of those angles. You should remember how to finish those steps off for the rest. So we'll come up to the top to the angle option. We'll click on point A, point B, and point D. Now remember, if you click on the 3 points and the angle ends up being on the wrong side, just undo and click in the opposite order. Excellent. So go ahead and finish off the other 3 angles. Step number 7 asks us to measure the lengths AD and CD. Now AD and CD are the labels based on the diagram that I provided you in the assignment. You actually, in this case, in the video, I'm looking at BD, so I need to measure this length here, and this line segment here, CD. Okay, so in order to do that, we'll come up to the angle measurement tool here, and we'll click on the drop down, and the third option says distance or length. So we'll click on distance or length, and we'll click on point B and point D, and you'll notice it says line segment BD is 6.1. Now you'll repeat the exact same thing for point C and point D. The rest of the assignment, the rest of the task, asks you to move around the points, see what happens to the angles, and see what happens to those measurements. I'm not going to do that because it would be a little bit too obvious. So go ahead and finish up the rest of the task.